How do you act like an adult instead of a teenager? Doing crap because it needs to be done, not because someone told me to do it. Just be more aware of the consequences of your words and actions before you actually commit. There are so many things I said and did as a kid that I would never even approach now because I know it's going to create a problem later. I'm starting to think that acting like or being an adult is just a case of doing the things you know you're supposed to do. You know you should get out of bed and do some stuff. You know you should take out the rubbish before it starts to smell. You know your house should be clean and tidy. I think being an adult is having the discipline and foresight to do it before it becomes a larger problem. It's maybe a little reductive, but the older I get the more I see that everyone else is just pretending as well. It fits my current outlook. Simple. Take responsibility for how your actions can affect others. Do that. And you're an adult. Make excuses. Blame others for your frick ups. Or just generally be ignorant about how you affect other people and you're immature. Face your problems head on, as soon as they appear. Even if you don't have a solution yet. Face it, acknowledge it, and start working on a plan. Problems don't just go away. Maybe it's something you don't have control over, but all ignoring it will accomplish is guaranteeing you don't have control. Life is too short to let your problems be in charge, so keep that crap on a short leash. Yeah. You won't always win, but at the end of the day you'll know that you at least put up a fight. Knowing the time and place to act foolish. There's a time to goof around, and there's a time to take care of responsibilities. In my opinion, the most teenage thing to do is to think that you're very unique and smarter than other people who can't understand all deepness of your thoughts and interests. Most of adults don't behave like this, however, some of them still haven't grown up yet. Paying to fix the crap I break. Drama is pointless and stupid, so don't feed into it. If something is really a problem, then work on finding a solution. If it's not a problem, quit going out of your way to make it one. Having empathy for people. When I was a teenager, everything absolutely revolved around me and my little world. Now, I try to think about others before myself. You don't have to wonder if something is appropriate for your age. You just don't care what people will think, and just do it. Like for example crying while watching How to Train Your Dragon. 1. Show up when you said you would. To do crap you said you'd do. Stop canceling on a whim. 2. Be kind, take a minute to be in someone else's world and let them know how cool that is. 3. Pay for the crap you get to do as soon as you can. If you can't pay money, pay attention and repay in work. Assumptions. You live in the United States and are currently an actual teenager, not an adult who has been operating like a teenager. This also assumes you are upper middle class or lower. Not money makes all problems disappear, and my father is level rich. Think beyond next week. If you don't save for retirement, even though you can afford to, not everyone can, and instead spend money on now pleasures exclusively, you will regret it later. Understand the power of compounding interest. You cannot catch up on missed retirement/investments later without drastically increasing the amount you contribute. Read carefully before signing long-term documents, leases, loans, marriage. Some of them are pretty mundane, but others have gotchas that are perfectly legal, but can cost you a bundle if you're not aware of them. Example, my old apartment lease stipulated that if I moved out, I was on the hook until it was up, even though I wasn't living there anymore. If you go to college, have a finance plan. Know what types of loans you and possibly your parents may need to take out, what their repayment terms are, and if any of them have income-based repayment, capping monthly repayment at a fixed percentage of your income. US federal loans are generally subject to this, but private loans are not. Avoid private loans if you can. Prepare for rainy days. You might get laid off, fired, or your company might close down. Yes, most US states pay unemployment, but sometimes it's a pittance and won't even cover rent in a dirt cheap apartment. The first thing a god must master is itself. Know the difference between need and want. You probably need a car, unless you live in a big city with robust public transit. You might want, but on a $30,000 salary right out of school, that's a terrible idea. Now, You don't need to go all /r/frugal or /r/personal finance. The stereotype /meme being they all drive 20-year-old cars with no account and no features whatsoever, but be reasonable with things that straddle the want/need line. Don't double down when you are either flat out proven wrong or do not know something. Better to remain silent and be thoughtful than open your mouth and remove all doubt. Know what you don't know and know where you can find help to fill gaps. For instance, a more senior team member at work. Avoid being a statistic. Going around railroad gates. Driving while tipsy. Playing chicken with trains. Starting pointless physical fights. Ignoring warning signs. All that crap you think happens to other people could end up happening to you. If you tempt fate, at some point you will lose. If everywhere you walk smells like crap, check your own shoes before flinging blame everywhere else. Money talks. When you get your first real job, figure out how much you get after taxes come out. A ballpark estimate in the US for most earners, one employer, wages without tips, stock, is that you keep about 67% of your gross pay after federal, state, and other taxes. Not carrying insurance, if you are offered affordable options through work, is rolling the dice. HMOs drastically limit where you can go, but tend to cost less than PPOs, which allow a larger choice of medical providers. Know the definitions of copay, deductible, coinsurance, and out-of-pocket maximum. Those $500, 000 hospital bills you may see in /r/WTF are not a joke. With decent insurance you won't pay anything close to that amount. Without it, you're stuck. Create a budget. This way, you know how much money you actually have after taxes, housing, student loans, food, car, utilities, retirement, and insurance come out. Yes, that's a long list. Yes, those are all real expenses a young adult in the USA will face. If you aren't careful, you'll find yourself short and choosing between food and utilities or worse. Work to live. Don't live to work. Stand up for yourself. Insist on some level of balance in your career if you can. Retail will show you the door if you won't adhere to their slave schedules, but lots of business white collar professions aren't like that. No, you probably won't make $70, 000 right out of college, but don't settle for a $19, 000 soul suck unrelated to your interests, only because it came first. The way college goes these days, you may already have a job lined up if you do 3 bazillion internships while in college. Impress someone enough and there may be an offer letter with a start date of immediately after graduation. If the above college track doesn't apply, don't take the first job you're offered simply because someone says show up here and we'll pay you. If your housing/food is stable, living with parents, and you're within the 6-month grace period on student loans, if applicable, then you don't have to jump immediately. Making friends and influencing people. When I was on speech team in high school, we were told to assume anyone we ran into between competitive rounds, in the hallways, or in the bathroom, could be the person judging our next round. In the real world, anyone could be your next interviewer, boss, or coworker. As much fun as some people have online, being a huge jerk for the lulz doing that in meat space often has consequences. People talk, and once you acquire a negative reputation it is hard to shake. The truest measure of a person is how they treat others who can do nothing to offer them. Don't be a peen to service staff. It's not edgy to act entitled. Mind who you associate with, and who associates with you. You will get lifted up, or dragged down to their level. If people only like you for your looks/money/Instagram photos/something else that isn't permanent, they'll drop you like a sack of dirt should whatever it is fade. If someone suddenly changes how they treat you, based on finding out about characteristic like this, be very suspicious. Someone who suddenly sucks up to you after they find out you're rich, may be a leech for instance. Get excited by opening new cleaning utensils. The ability to stop myself and think before I spout something stupid out into the world. An ounce of self-control goes a long way. Being considerate and learning to treat people with respect is a big milestone that many people going from high school to college forget. Pay rent, cook dinner, get a pet. Saving money instead of spending all of it. Move the sides of your bed away from the walls. Actually taking responsibility for your actions. I taught 11th grade last semester, the oldest group I've ever taught, and this was a defining characteristic I noticed between those who still need a lot of maturing, and those who more mature. One student finally admitted she plagiarized her paper, but it was still my fault for not helping her in class. Another tried to argue her annotated bibliography grade from a C to an A, because the EC teacher in the class looked over it, and said she was doing fine. Therefore it's the other teacher's fault, not hers, that she did not cite everything correctly. SMH. On the other hand, one of my other students lost points on a project, because he tried to tell me theme was adversity. I explained theme again, and showed him the steps. Afterwards, every time he had to explain theme, I would see the steps out to the side on his paper. It wasn't easy for him to admit that he was wrong about something, but once he saw his mistake, he did not make it again. Learning how to effectively communicate with other people, instead of shutting down, or getting angry and yelling while having a tough conversation. Be able to present your side while listening to the other side. I had a conversation with a 30-year-old that he was unhappy about, and he just angry stared at me like a child. It was something. Take responsibility for your own mistakes. We all frick up from time to time. Just admit it and move on. Just because I disagree with you on whatever topic doesn't mean I dislike or hate you. Different people have different opinions. Don't hold grudges. Just move on. It's now your life. You can take advice by friends and family, but in the end it's you that gotta take a decision, even if it's something many friends or family won't support you. I think that's one of the biggest things about adulthood. When you're arguing with someone, muster the will to put yourself in their perspective and try to honestly understand why they're upset. Take some space from the conversation to consider it. If you need to, come back and offer a full apology for what is needful. You don't have to cave to everything, but you can accept some responsibility for almost any scenario, whether it be poor communication, accidental selfishness, etc. Judge your friendship/partner by their ability to give you the same respect and understanding back. Also understand that an apology is verbal acknowledgement of an action and its consequence, and a solution or plan to fix it/prevent it from happening again. Don't say stupid crap. Don't do stupid crap. Don't look towards dip craps as role models. I just started working on this as well. Biggest thing I can say is learn to take criticism. Not everyone is yelling at you or talking down to you. Sometimes they are just telling you what you did wrong or what you could fix. Learn from it, but don't take it harshly. Don't interject random comments into conversations. Sit, listen for a while, and add to the conversation, or at least ask questions when the time is right. Instead of judging people on what they look/dress like and who they talk with, judging on their character. Learn to breathe. Well, first off, don't be in a big damn hurry to grow up. Adulthood is what happens when life beats you into submission. When you realize that you matter a lot less than you'd like to, once you have been properly crushed by reality, until you realize that almost nothing you do actually matters and very few people care about your particular suffering. Once that happens, if you are very lucky, you will realize that the small collection of people who care about you are the most important thing in the world. You will begin to spend your time thinking about ways to treat them with care and consideration. You will begin to notice that sometimes what they want is vastly different than what you want, and you will find ways to accommodate them because, in a harsh world, they matter most. But you don't need to rush to suffering. Be a kid as long as you can. Tell your parents you'll buy and pay for your own things. Realizing you're average and not entitled to special treatment, so you need to work hard and take life seriously enough to survive in it. When I fill my glass with ice and a cube falls on the ground, I pick it up and put it in the sink, rather than kicking it under the refrigerator. I trolled as a teen, venting insecurity. Now I write haiku. Don't raise your voice when you're losing an argument. I'd say the transition is when you stop being so concerned about what age you're acting like. The desire to be seen as mature and the avoidance of immaturity is, itself, a hallmark of immaturity. Drive safely, not to impress. Save the stunts and high speeds for the racetrack. There's a reason car insurance rates are way lower for adults. Think rationally and admit when you're wrong. Take responsibility for your mistakes, and don't sweat the small stuff. I have 2 checking accounts, a bills account, and a spending account. I've taken all of the money I definitely know will go to bills, subscriptions, rent, insurance, etc., and divide that by the number of paychecks I get in a month plus a little extra for surprises. Each paycheck, I deposit that much money into bills. No matter what time of the month it is, I always have bill money. Give infinitely fewer craps, like below the level of emo indifference, below the classic teenage rebelliousness, and even below the energetic antagonism of motivated activists, all the way down at a basement level that has never seen the light of fricks to give. We have to care about so much stuff we don't like as part of routine, that they get allocated craps in advance, and all the trivial causes just can't compete with the necessities. Plant trees you won't live to feel the shade from. Respect elders and social structure. Love yourself enough to be vulnerable, but know when to be and when to defend or empower those who are vulnerable to you. Understand that life is most meaningful when you are helping and loving people. Have the self-discipline to navigate to your destiny, not giving up joy for pleasure. Deep sighs every time you sit down. Occasionally clear your throat loudly for everyone to hear. Binge drink coffee every morning. Make sure you tell everyone you come across to not talk to you until you've had your first cup. Grow a drink gut. Bonus if you've got a hairy chest. Refer to your significant other as the wife or the girlfriend. Wear loose khakis and a baggy tucked in shirt. Goes hand in hand with the drink gut. Bonus points for Clark's leather shoes with the thick rubber soles. Sarcastic jokes about freedom 65 at least once a day. Throw in some crap about millennials and cell phones for good measure. Anytime someone pitches a new idea at work, make sure to let them know that with 30 years in the business you've never seen it done that way. I don't do stupid stunts like setting myself on fire for a stupid challenge. Yeah, that trend made me lose faith in this generation. Good thing it's not popular anymore. You clean your room because you want to, and it is something you should do. No one tells you to. I decided I can't drink more than 2 drinks on a weekend night, because if I do, I'll be hungover the entire next day. Not constantly shifting blame. Take 100% responsibility for your actions. Personal responsibility is what is missing from mental children who are legal adults. Ditch the needless fluff words awkwardly jammed into sentences to look clever. Almost all of these replies are grow the part of your brain that doesn't grow till in your 20s. Start paying attention to how people with childish minds are screwing you over. By paying taxes. Listen when people try to teach you things or correct you, so you know for next time. Don't throw a fit because you don't know everything. If you're a teenager, you don't. Your teenage years are your time to not give any fricks and just have fun discovering your identity. If you're an adult, you should be trying to act like a small child instead. Be a productive person and try to earn a good living. But in your free time, never let the magic die. Climb a tree, play with a kitten, have the boys over, and stay up until 3 playing video games and eating junk food. Ask stupid questions that nobody realized were actually smart/insightful. Take criticism well. Intellectual honesty should be something we strive for. If someone gives evidence you are wrong, be an adult and change your mind. People describing teenagers as worse than they are and adults as better than they are. Also some valuable financial advice. I don't want to grow up. I want to be a Toys R Us kid. I don't encourage conflict and avoid it at all costs. I guess I'm just a Canadian stuck with an American's predisposition. Also I use my blinker. You don't. When you become an adult, you ultimately realize that there isn't much of a difference between being an adult and a teenager. You really don't feel that different. Your thoughts, opinions, and habits haven't really changed much. You feel less and less of the passage of time. I graduated law school 6 years ago, and I swear it feels like it just happened. I felt far more of a time jump from the 5th to 6th grade than the last 6 goddamn years. So yeah, I basically feel like the same kid. Even though I'm doing adult stuff, and I'm independent, I like the same stuff, I have the same sense of humor, and I feel just as confused and uncertain about the world as I had in the past as a maturing high schooler. Hold yourself and other accountable for what you/they did. Have an idea in mind of what kind of person you want to become, and compare your present self with that kind of person. Do not argue with people on the basis of personal principles. Rather act on it. Give up trying to convince others of your reasons at all costs. If they don't accept your argument after 1-2 times, then move on and avoid arguments. Do not escalate discussions. Read a lot. Read from sources defending opposite ideas than yours. Talk less. Listen more. Respect people more. Don't sleep until 1 PM. Work. Pay bills. Realizing that you can't control the actions or reactions of others, and thus not trying to, while bearing in mind you can control your own actions and have a responsibility to do so in a way that is considerate of other people who are different to you. It's a subtle but important distinction. 1. Don't crack jokes all the damn time. 2. Don't act like you already know everything there is to know. A little humility goes a long way. 3. Don't complain when something doesn't break your way. Suck it up and think about how to quietly get your way the next time. 4. Most importantly, don't be self-centered. Think about others and what they want or what their perspective is. Putting someone else's interests ahead of your own is the hallmark of a grown-up. I see always one big difference. Clothing. Teens try too hard and believe that clothes is what matters and phones and similar things. Nah man. I clean my mother freaking sheets once a week. Pay bills. Lots of bills.